Hello, welcome to Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yee.
And I'm Chris Yee.
And today we're going to be reviewing Tianxia. This is a board and dice game by Daniele Tascini and Antonio Petrelli.
So this appears to be Antonio Petrelli's first co-design on BGG. Daniele Tascini has done many games that start with the letter T from Board and Dice. So this continues a
long tradition.
A long tradition, a big part of our lives, I guess, since the original Teotihuacan.
Because Tascini starts with the letter T.
And in this one, you are regional governors and nobles trying to...
You're a noble family, and you're trying to install governors into different lands so that you have political
It's a
sway.
Euro game.
It just means you get superpowers.
And you're also defending from invaders in the north. So.
Yep, and you're selling goods along the shores of China.
Now, one is going to show you how this one plays, and we'll come back and give you our thoughts.
Tianxia is a worker placement game that takes place across 4 rounds. On a round, players are going to be playing 3 worker placement action discs over here, performing various and sundry actions. And then at the end of the round, invaders are going to invade from the north and potentially attack people, kill governors, and destroy buildings, unless you've successfully protected the land from them, and then you get to trade them in for victory points. Hey! So with such a busy board, let's kind of point out the regions. So we have the palace tracks over here, and these really are just 4 tracks. And then we have a turn order and our round structure. We have the main worker placement area, which is right here. Each one of these worker placement spots is going to have this little light up circle. Some of these areas have 2 different ones, and they are associated with a very specific region. So you can see this bottom one over here is this region, whereas this way over here is going to be this region, and so forth. Finally, we have the invaders in the north. These are going to be moving down throughout the game based on these cards right here. And their attack value is going to increase, as well as they're going to move closer. If they ever reach this spot down here at the beginning of the round, that means that at the end of the round, there's going to be a battle. Now, bonus tiles are these little tiles all around that we see here, and these actually will be collected when players move up past them on tracks, as well as if they are the first player to place out their governor on these buildings. All right, so let's talk about an actual turn. So on your turn, you can choose to play one of your worker tokens, or you can choose to place out a dude on a barge. Now, these guys out here are not actual workers, but instead, you can pay $1 to put them out. You would gain this resource immediately, and then it would be ongoing income until someone comes in and kicks you out of the barge. It can only hold 3 dudes at a time. When you get kicked out, it will actually go on your player board and potentially unlock future powers. Now, the barges do cost money, but these tokens here do not. Whenever you place them on a region, you can do the action that is within the circle. You will also move up on the track that is shown on this little disc right here. And then you can also choose to get a building in the region, or you can choose, if you're at one of those port areas over here, you can choose to interact with one of the ports. On a couple of the specialty spots, there's also these little bonuses where you just gain resources of your choice. All right, so talking specifically flag movement, real simple. Just move up on the flag track. These little conversion resources things here on these spaces, these are usually just conversions, and they're pretty simple. Trade a resource for some other resource. Now, the buildings, these are where you're going to be gaining special powers. The gray buildings are going to be income. So you gain them immediately and then once at the beginning of the round, the beginning of each round. And then the red buildings are ongoing abilities that will happen based on whatever's in the roof. So this happens to say whenever you place out a soldier in these soldier regions, then you'd gain another soldier and a food. So on your turn, if you'd like to purchase one of these buildings in the area that you are at, if you want to become governor, then you would pay the top cost, you would gain the bonus tile, and then you'd place out your worker. Now, if you want to interact with one of the ports, you would come to the associated port region. You would place out one of these little ropes, tiles, and then you would do whatever the conversion is required on the boat. This happens to say one of whatever the specialty good is of the area, and then you can trade it in to lower the strength of one of these bad guys and gain $1. And then you would cover up on the bottom with a crate one of these other bonuses as well. All right, last but not least, let's talk about the military attacking over here. So what's going to happen is there's this attack space, and this is how you place out walls and buildings, or how you place out your army guys. And once you've built up a region as much as you can, at the end of the round, there's going to be some attacks. So this region down here is going to attack this round. And as you can see, we only have the strength of 6. So it's 1 per wall, 1 per dude, and then 2 if you happen to have one of these gatehouses. We don't in this region, so just a total of 6. So before the attacking actually happens, you're going to see who gets points based on who has protected the land the most. Tiebreakers won by the first person on the left over here. So as we can see, we happen to have 2 of each particular strength. Each color has 2 strength. So we'd go over here. Orange would get 7 points, purple would get 4 points, and blue would get 2 because, like I said, that tie-breaking order over here. Then you'd also get points for any dude that got killed, which they happen to all be killed because we don't quite have enough strength to reach the 7 strength. So all of these would be killed and all those players would gain 1 point for their glorious battle. Then our bad guys would start moving down into our town, destroying things. Because we only have 1 point left over, whatever building gets hit will be completely hit, and then we start subtracting more from that. So we only needed 1 more to get this guy to run away. So we did 1 more, we lost that guy, and then he's gone. He would start back over, starting with the next round, moving down again. So one governor got killed. There's no points for that, but the other governor is still standing. That means whoever had first player would gain additional points for any governors still standing up over here. Because the board's so big, I don't have a room in the screen to place this player board. So I just want to show you briefly what's on here. So this is where you have walls and you can have your buildings and the cost associated with them. Everyone starts with an income building, and that is going to be permanent for the rest of the game. They can't lose that. They'll always have that income. There's also these statues, and these are ways at the end of the round that you can actually choose to pay when you pass on your turn to move up extra on tracks, and then their endgame victory points on the side. And then everyone's going to have unique player powers, and these guys are actually what you're going to earn when you get knocked off the barges. And when you've collected sufficient for that region, then you can actually choose to spend them and gain whatever the benefit is. Now, throughout the game, you will be gaining points from these battles, from selling off stuff on the boats, as well as occasionally here and there from buildings or special abilities that you have. All right, so let's talk endgame points last of all. We have points for whoever's the highest on tracks for second and third place. We also have points from resources, 5 to 1. Like I mentioned before, you have the statue track on your player board, and so that's worth points depending on how many statues you have. And then finally, everyone is going to have these objective cards, and they can actually choose to trade them in for resources throughout the game for free and ditch them, or they can score up to 3 cards at the end of the game. All right, so I know that didn't cover everything, but that is a brief overview of Tianxia. All right, so like you said before, Chris, it's a Euro game. The theme is somehow there.
I mean, it's there in the sense that this certainly feels like a defense game, right?
Yes, I agree. And I think that makes this feel a little bit different than other Tascini games. And so I'm assuming that that's Antonio Petrelli, that's his name. Antonio Petrelli's influence is probably a lot of that, bringing in the Northerners, having them attack, having to build up those walls.
I'm not sure, right? But I'm curious about that part myself.
That's my guess.
But you're going to see a lot of signature Tascini little notes in there, right? His little sprinkles of the stuff that he likes to flavor games with. Moving up on tracks. There's 4 tracks of different colors. When you take your main action, it's going to be able to correspond to that track. There's technology tiles all over, but those are considered buildings that are kind of in the line of fire of these invasion paths. So it does a lot of, those familiar sprinkles, but kind of puts this spatial element to it, where your technologies are in themselves in tracks that can be destroyed.
That's true. He also does a lot of one-time use bonus tokens. They're all over the place in this game.
Yes.
There are tons of different ways to get them. And you see that in a ton of his other games. And there's even ways to reflip them over, which is a very him thing. But I agree with what you say about it adds an interesting spatial element to the defense. Because as those warriors break through, if it's not sufficiently defended, you just start knocking off those governors and killing off. And so you're not just, oh, I lost a guy, that's sad. But instead you're like, no, that was my income. I spent 2 wood on that, and now it's going to cost even more, which is something I didn't mention in the overview, was that as those buildings get destroyed, they get rebuilt, but they cost more on top of that.
Yeah, thematic, but also, yeah, annoying when you're like, oh, my technologies I spent time developing, got destroyed because players didn't kind of collectively come together to defend this portion of the wall just because my technology was the one right in front. Oh, no. And I think that's going to be a crux of whether you like this game or not, is that, yes, it has familiar elements from many of the other T games and from some of his other designs as well. But do you like this idea of shared incentive tower defense almost?
It's like an area control game with area control points that just happens to be if you don't do enough area control, bad stuff happens.
Yeah. Where do you come down on that part of it?
On that part of it, I think it adds a nice change. Like, it doesn't bother me. And I think one of the biggest reasons why is because instead of exporting randomness, like rolling a die and just having randomness happen, instead I get information beforehand on that card flip. I know how far the warriors move, how strong they are, and if they're attacking this round. Then I take all my turns and I get to make all my decisions. I already know the outcome of what those battles are going to be. And so I can decide to do and respond to all that threat. And then we wrap it up. We have the battle. But for me, I really appreciate it because I'm not just having a random outcome as to whether or not my dude survives, but instead it's, did I work hard enough to defeat the challenge that I knew was there this round?
Or did I make it so that other people, like if you overpower the defense of a sector, then people are like, well, I don't really want to go in there and fight for second place. So it's this weird balancing where you kind of have to figure out, like, do I make it like surpassable so someone else gets the majority just so that my technologies don't get wiped out? This has a weird amount of player interaction that maybe you're not going to be used to from this kind of series of games from Board and Dice. And on top of that, the barges where you go, you pay, on your turn, you either put out a worker or you pay a coin, put your person in the back of the line of the barge, and you kick out the front person. A little note of Council of Four almost, but from the same designer, but in this way that you're like, I'm kicking you out of getting income, but also then you're getting this merchant power, charging up those powers on your board. So it's like a negative mixed with a positive bit of interaction.
Okay.
It's an interesting mix of all of these things together, familiar, heavy Eurogame tropes, with also these like high elements of player interaction.
Now you talk about I don't know if you said barges or ships, but that is confusing because there's the ships that give you the resources. Sorry, the barges that give you the resources.
Yes.
And then there's the trade ships on the side that you actually trade stuff and get rewards. The trade ships themselves come out randomly, and I didn't really show, but the sails and the bases are not connected. And so you randomize it all. So you could have a sail that is really easy to do. It just costs 1 good and it has a very minor reward. But maybe the base of it is like really good benefits. You get a couple benefits from that. And it could be vice versa, that you could have something that's really expensive, gives a lot of points, but then the base bonus is like, meh.
Talking about the amount of randomization in this game.
There's there's a huge stack of those tiles.
Yeah. So it almost feels like more than need be, but it's fine. I think that for me, the drawback is that there is a decent amount of upkeep in the game. With like the invasion track and then going through the turns and making sure not to forget any of the procedurality. I put a disc out here to take this action to get these benefits. Did you move up the track yet? Oh, I forgot. That's right, because every work or disc I put out is associated with a track which moves up, and I get a bonus action on the 5th step, which is going to allow me to do these things, which gives me these income right away. And you know what? While I'm at it, I'm going to spend this one-time bonus tile to trigger this effect again so that it gets me this. I'm going to put out a ship trade token right away. Where was I in my just placing a disc and doing something?
You know what's funny, though, is that particular statement that you just went through could make people so excited about this game or so turned off. And it really just depends on you and what you're interested in these kind of games. But I agree that there are a lot of steps. You have the circle, you have the flag track, you have the small ability, the big ability, do you want a governor? Like, there's a lot.
I forgot if I want to put a governor out or not.
Can you afford a governor or not? Also, the resources are tight in this game. You have those personal player powers and those personal income, and sometimes that will benefit you, and you feel like you can really build an engine right away. And sometimes it feels like, oof, this game, because all the buildings are randomized, it just feels like it's taking a while for us to get going. But I feel like I've enjoyed all my plays of it that I've had. And when you talk about upkeep, like we've played at 2 players, and you do have to play with a 2-player bot, so to speak. It's not too complicated. I feel like its turn is probably less time than someone else taking their whole turn. It's just that you have to be the one to do it, so you're not spending that time strategizing your future turns.
Yeah, that is. Now, here's the thing. Many people are going to hear 2-player bot, and they're going to be immediately turned off. It's simple enough to manage, but it takes time and it takes just some mental effort. Mm-hmm. But it is tremendously important to play with it. Because of the amount of tower defense. That bot, if you're playing 2 players, is going to put out a lot of defense out there, which, once again, protects your technology, your governors and stuff. So it's important, it's well implemented, but it might annoy you that, you have to play with this extra upkeep phase to play with 2 players, and that might not be what you're looking for.
And honestly, I feel like that bot, especially early on in the game when we're really struggling to do anything because we just don't have the resources and the income yet, that bot is at the same level the whole game. And so they're like, I'm just pumping out stuff, protecting you left and right. And so I think that it is a benefit, but it also, if you really want to get those area majority points from the invaders, you have to work hard against that.
You have to outpace the bot.
You have to outpace the boss. And that's hard to do, especially at the beginning of the game.
It's tremendously well implemented. Whoever designed and developed that part of it, amazing.
Actually, it says right here on the box. I can't pronounce that name.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. Well, that's the solo mode, right? But
you're right,
the solo mode has its own separate, much more robust bot to play against. But the 2-player thing does have that simpler one because you are, and it can't win or anything. You're just playing against the other opponent.
Yeah. So as for like little minors to this game, the pieces are fiddly. Like there's tiny, tiny pieces that are just physically fiddly. They're kind of hard to move up. And pick up and move around, especially the barges. Like the barges are adorable. You're pushing the guy down the little path on the barge. It's great. Except that they're easy to knock over, and then you have to dump the whole thing out and start over again.
Sometimes they catch the meeple as you push it. One of ours got bent. It's a library convention copy. If that gets bent, it kind of defeats the usefulness of having them kind of in this like physical track. So
yeah, I wish they were plastic. I think they would just be a little bit stronger than the cardboard that they are, but they're a lot cheaper being cardboard. So.
Right, yeah.
So it's just minor little issues like that, but I think overall...
Tiny pieces, the tiny iconography, yeah.
There are player aids, and I think that helps a ton because I do have to, every single round, even after multiple plays, still walk through the end round of everything, how the attack works and all of that.
As to not miss a very important step. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And it's funny because there's whole elements of the game we haven't even talked about, but I think that we've encapsulated a lot of the important talking points about
Especially the stuff that makes this really different from other Tascini games.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are you coming in score-wise?
This was a hard one, right? Because, and I'm going to say this outright, Daniele Tascini has designed a lot of games that I've enjoyed and many that I have found not as enjoyable. I have fun with this one. I have been frustrated by its tightness of the resources at times and feeling like I'm so behind the curve. And then over the course of the 4 rounds of play, you do have opportunities to catch up and everything. It's an incredibly impressive design. I'm giving this one a 7 with the caveat that it doesn't feel revolutionarily new. It feels like many of Daniele Tascini's designs, right? And if you want that tower defense and that high amount of player interaction, that's probably going to be the key selling point of this one over certain other games of his. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I have been frustrated with this game at times, and I have also it felt like I don't know how many more games that have the tracks and the one-time token, all those like familiar ingredients. This one, yes, it's different, but it doesn't feel so different that I think I would choose to pull it out that often. But I also recognize that it's a brilliant design, and I do have a lot of fun when I play with it when things are working out, and when they're not, boy howdy, it is a bit of a tense, kind of stressful time. So all of that kind of amalgamating together, it's a 7. I'm recommending it, given the caveat that you're looking for another complex, heavy Euro game with a lot of interwoven mechanisms. It is fun, though.
Okay. So a little bit of tea fatigue.
Spill the tea fatigue.
Yes, please do. So I'm going to come in at an 8 with this. I think that it does have that little bit of fresh air to it, with it having a different mechanism of the warriors coming down. And I do appreciate that. I do agree that the tracks and the taking actions is very similar to a lot of other things we see. I do have to say, having just recently played Transgalactica, now coming to Tianxia, it is a night and day difference learning this game, teaching this game. And so if you're a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I want to do another Tascini game, the last one was a little bit harder to handle, this one is much better developed. So out of the two, I would definitely pick this for sure over the Devere one. Sorry, Devere. But yeah, I like a lot of what's going on. I really enjoy the tightness of, I think I'm more okay with the really tight resource games.
You are, in this case,
I really enjoy that because I have to make everything count. And I like to start out specifically picking things that are going to let me have a little bit more of those incomes, a little bit more resources. Whereas I know you tend to really like the tracks. And I'm
tracks and
often
tech,
terrible at tracks. So it just depends. And I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can lean into this. Maybe not as many as other games. So there are some games where I feel like you can lean in any direction and do anything. This is one where you're probably going to invade. You might do a little bit of boats. You're probably going to do tracks. You're going to do it all, but you're not going to do it all the time. And it's just, there's 12 actions total.
You don't have time,
other than putting the dudes on the barge, there's 12 actions. So there's just not a lot of time to crazy do a ton. But I enjoy the engine building. I like the ongoing powers. And I do love the variable setup. There's so much that can change each game. And so it doesn't change the core of how the game feels, but it does change that strategy of looking at all the buildings and saying, ooh, I want to go there first. I want to start with that and kind of see where it goes from there. So there you go. That's an 8 for me. And this was Tianxia.
All right, there you go. High score of Wendy's 8, giving this one a seal of approval. Both of us recommending it as a good, solid, heavy Euro game.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Wendy Yee.
And I'm Chris Yee.
And go fight those invaders in the north.
Now all of China knows you're here.
That's right. You built that wall.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassel.